Hello, my name is Charlie. Welcome to the Supportive Service Dogs podcast. Yes, we are back after over a year. And now on video, if you're watching on YouTube, it is now a recorded podcast, but it will also be available in audio format wherever I can place it. I am still learning the ins and outs of podcasts. But my name is Charlie. I go by It's Barbie Paris here online on a variety of different social outlets. And I am a service dog handler to a service dog named Barbie, where my name comes from. And I just wanted to do a show where I kind of checked in since it's been a year, talk about my journey as a service dog handler. How has the last year gone? What have we been up to as a handler duo? And what is next for us? So I think I would consider Barbie at this point a fully trained service dog. I think I would like to do more exposure and different things that are a little bit strange and different. But I think we're definitely there for daily tasks, running around. I would like to work with her more on things like fireworks, but if we don't get any farther than we are, I'm not necessarily disappointed. We don't stick around for fireworks and things like that at Disney World anyway. It's just something I like for her to be aware of. They light fireworks off in the middle of the day at Disney, and it scares me every single time for their stage shows. And I don't really know why they do it because it doesn't really add anything if you're asking me. But yes, I'm a service dog handler, and so I think I'll just start from the top since it's been so long. Barbie is my service dog. She is a poodle, and I like to say that she's a poodle. On my Reddit, I posted her. I think that's the easiest place for you guys to find her embark results, but she's basically 50-50 miniature poodle and standard poodle. So she's mid sized. We were told that she was a miniature poodle. She was a gift for my birthday. And so, yeah, a lot of her origin is a mystery. And I've learned a lot about service dogs over the last several years. I've learned a lot about dog breeding. And in the future, I definitely have a better plan um, for how I would receive a service dog prospect. I wasn't really sure when I got Barbie if that's what I was going to do. I had at the time been looking at a service dog for a couple of years. I was living in Utah at the time, and my apartment was kind of being strange with it, even with they wanted more, I felt, than just a doctor's note. It felt really invasive and strange, and I didn't follow up with it until I got my own home. And it was still something I wanted, and my spouse got it for me, got her for me for my birthday. And of course, dogs are forever. Don't just gift a dog if you're not sure the person receiving it absolutely wants that animal. We'll just do the supermarket questions. Are they a service dog? Yes. And what tasks are they trained to perform? I could ask this question a lot, and I'll answer it here in one place. Barbie has multiple tasks that she performs that's active tasking. She also has things that I would refer to as passive tasking, but that's not legal per the law. She wakes me up from nightmares, and so she's crucial to be close to me in the bed at night. She retrieves things off the floor for me. We've also used that skill to bring things across the room. She does deep pressure therapy. She reacts to the signals that I put out when I'm personally exhibiting a panic attack or a meltdown. And so that's basically what Barbie does for me. If I'm having like a POTS issue, she'll lay on my legs. I can direct her pressure therapy in different locations. And then just ambiently, she's my best friend. I'm disabled. I'm alone a lot, and she keeps structure to my day, my life, and gives me something to get out of the bed for. That's also why I like uh, being an online creator, because I think it's an excellent outlet for me right now. As I work through things, I would like to return to school soon. So, speaking of things that I would like to do, This would probably be through an at-home schooling, and I'd have to set up like a whole place for her, and we'd obviously share that story and that content as well. But that's kind of where I would like to go with my service dog, is to college next. I think it's about time that we were Bruiser and Elwoods and went and got our degree. So I think that's next for us. She's really, really good. We've been so many different places. We've been to the Disney parks. She's seen several movies at this point, most recently Wicked. I didn't take her to Nosferatu, not because she couldn't do it, but because my movie theater is so inaccessible. I didn't think I could hack it because I had to go alone. Um, Opening the door, they don't have automatic door. They don't. I can't get certain things like straws or napkins without assistance. I hit probably every peg of the little line thing because they're so tight. It's just not very accessible, and I was wanting to go see a movie. We can't take our 11-year-old to Nosferatu, so it was like, if you want to go, you got to go alone. I don't have a lot of friends here in Florida, and so I just went alone and left my service dog at home. um, this is another thing that I keep having to address. People are like, well, where's Barbie? I do leave Barbie sometimes home alone. I think it's important that they're comfortable with that, just in case there's ever anything that may need happen. And it's definitely not her favorite thing. If she thinks she's being left home alone, she like asserts herself at the door, like it's time to go. But we just take her out most of the time, and very rarely we'll just leave her home so she can have that experience. Or if there's something that would be made easier on her, I've talked extensively about the Floridian summer that we just had on TikTok and how Barbie would stay home more than not. We went to the Disney parks quite a bit, and when the ambient temperature outside is like 103, those sidewalks are cooking and it is so hot, and even wearing shoes and stuff, it's just not a good time. And so we didn't take her through the entirety of the summer to outdoor events because it was too hot. We don't do a lot of outdoor events, but that is just an example. I have expanded to talking about different subjects on my social media accounts. In the beginning, and when I started this podcast and had the idea to do this, I was making primarily service dog content. Now I make a mixture of service dog and chronic illness and just kind of lifestyle content in general. And so I wanted there to be a concentrated outlet where I can talk about things that are strictly service dogs still. And that's why I'm reviving this podcast. And I appreciate for the people who have checked it out on the different platforms that's on. Like I said, we're on YouTube. I know we're on Spotify, and I think it distributes it to other podcast places, but I'm not entirely sure how all of that works. So do not quote me on that. But I know we're on Spotify and we're here on YouTube. And I plan on making more episodes. If you have a question about service dogs, don't be shy about leaving it in the comments, and I will get to you hopefully. I am planning an episode here soon. I'd like to put this out to other service dog handlers that may be listening. I would like to talk to other service dog handlers about how they think the TikTok issues and how shifts in the online atmosphere has affected the service dog community. If you have something interesting to say about that, or something that you'd like to say about that, that's something that I would be interested in covering and talking about. I would like to speak with other service dog handlers on this platform as well. If you're interested in pitching me an idea or something that you would like to talk about on my podcast, you can email me at itsbarbieparis@gmail.com, and I will reply to you as soon as I can. That's been a thing as I've continued to grow as a creator. Number wise, specifically, I feel so inept to keep up with emails and to be like the Google Meet person. Like, I feel like I'm in an entirely different world. My spouse works something very businessy, very serious. and spreadsheets and Google Meets and Zooms and stuff like that. I feel so inept at things like that. And now that I'm growing, I'm having to use those things more. But I would like to connect to more service dog handlers, and I would be interested in doing that even over things like Zoom or Google Meet or whatever it's called now. I think that would also be really, really interesting to do a group podcast where we have several different service dog handlers and we talk about our service dogs. I really love Barbie, obviously, and I've really loved sharing my story with Barbie and having an audience of other people who understand the different things that we experience as service dog handlers. I haven't really experienced any issues with accessibility recently with my service animal. I talked on here a year ago on my podcast about how the hospital asked for paperwork for my service dog. And they did it again about maybe 6 months ago. But other than that, it's, I don't know, it's been pretty good. I live in a smaller suburb area, so I think a lot of people know who I am, and maybe some of the flair has faded off, and so I don't get approached as much if I stay in my local area. Though I think sometimes because we live in such a small area and we're so recognizable, some people think that we're closer than we are. One time, and I didn't recognize this lady, and there's a very large chance I had a long conversation with her at some points because, again, service dogs are stopped all the time to talk or whatever and look at pictures of dogs, or somebody tells you about their animal or their animal died or something. Like, people will tell you so many things. And so there's a very good chance that I did speak with her. But she sees me and she goes, "There's my friend," and goes and is in the process of reaching out to Barbie. It's like, "I can pet her, right? My hands are washed, right? It's fine, right?" And I'm like, uh, and I like kind of froze up for a minute. And I sometimes do say yes. I don't know if that's controversial to say in the service dog community. Sometimes I feel like it's just easier to say yes and move on. But typically I tell them no. I will never, I get very salty when people do it with permission. So one times, I don't know if I mentioned this in my podcast. I can't really remember how long ago this was. I think it was last summer, but a lady reached over my wheelchair to pet my service dog that was in my lap. If you're unaware, my service dog typically rides in my lap. And I just like pushed her hand away like this and was like, like a dog. So, I guess I have had a few experiences, but it's been very tame. I think people have been a lot more respectful. Um, and it seems like people get it. One of the funnier things I think about being a service dog handler is like people's assumptions about you and them. I used to get asked quite a bit, who are you training them for? And now that I'm in my wheelchair, I get that quite a lot less. But I would get that quite a bit. People will occasionally ask me how much she cost, which is like a really strange question that I'm not just excited to answer on the street. Like, yes, let me tell you the dollar value of my service animal. I don't think we're going to do that right now. Mm-mm. I don't have time. I've had people ask me if I'm willing to sell her. No, that's no. And how much? No. Um, but it almost makes me want to like shoot out like a crazy answer, like 100,000. They're like, "That's too much." I'm like, exactly. And you know what I mean? Like, people have no boundaries when it comes to animals sometimes. Um, and I think regardless, I used to have dye on her, and I was like, let's try taking the hair dye off her, see if like we get less attention. I don't think that that's happened. A lot of people, everywhere we go, I can hear people talking about her. "Oh, Parita, mommy, look, a dog." And I you know what I mean? I have to try to tune it out, but sometimes it's very, very hard. Um, I've had grown men multiple times with their children bark at me and try to get their kids to like get jazzed up to bark at my service animal. I don't know, this is kind of a side tangent, but this is just kind of catching you guys up on my service dog lore. Yeah, we have created a, I don't know if I've talked about this on here. Barbie has an entire closet where I keep all of her gear and stuff like that. I think I need to do a tour on my YouTube channel and I can show you guys all of her really cool patches. I wanted to buy some of the Valentine's patches that are floating around right now because it kind of fits my aesthetic year round, but I don't, patches are so expensive. Like people don't talk about like people shame Amazon gear. And Amazon gear is completely fine. I have a lot of Amazon products. Her main vest is an Amazon vest with patches on it. And some of those patches are from companies, like small businesses, and some of them are just from Amazon itself. And there's no difference really other than the amount that I paid and how they look. They have the same functionality. And I would even argue that the Amazon ones probably, in some instances, have more functionality because they're cleaner and plainer. That is something I have learned, that there's just some places that it's just better to put like the most obvious clear patches on. I have a Velcro patch that's just a stop sign that says stop, do not pet. Or ones that just say service dogs. Sometimes, like, those are just the best ones. You don't need super expensive equipment to be a service dog handler. I think there's so many made up roles within this community. And I'd like to do an entire podcast about that as well, because there's different ideas that people have for legal requirements that do not exist, and they'll harass other handlers about it. Honestly, the service dog community is wild, and there's so many different episodes we can do. We can talk about the different blacklist groups. We can talk about some of, we won't perhaps name them by name, and I might not do this, but there's a few handlers that are very well known, and I would like to talk about it as a whole and how the community reacts and treats them, and how different things have gone in the community. Because I think stepping into this community, it's like, wow, there's a lot of deep lore, and it's hard to keep track of who hates who and who's been like brought out and had all their secrets shared in a blacklist group, or how they keep their homes. And I'm not saying that like there shouldn't be venues for us to talk about problematic creators, but sometimes it is quite interesting to see. It's like the snake eating its own tail. It's like some of these things that people are like snarking over or talking about in these groups is like things that you could be canceled for probably yourself tomorrow. You probably have a cancelable offense that could be aired out in these blacklist groups. And um, there's definitely people, like I said, that I think it's important to be aware of their actions in very serious instances. I've only ever gotten kind of involved in service dog drama one time, and it was because there was a service dog handler that was fairly large at the time, who was being openly transphobic. And I talked about that because that's not something that I put up with or that I think that the service dog community should. I think disabled communities should be intersectional to everyone. They had like another video that was like vaguely racist. I think that it's, we should have intersectionality between other issues as well. And if you're speaking about those issues in that way, I think that that deserves a discussion, because being racist or transphobic is not something that I think needs to just exist within the community and deserves a discussion. Or people who are abusing their animals, for example. I don't think that that's a misuse of discussing things online, but sometimes it is very petty personal stuff that you'll see just go back and forth, and you just have to decide how much you want to engage in it. And for me, I've kind of decided that's zero. And speaking of, and kind of moving on, I've always tried to be kind of silly with people who have replied really mean or negative things on my page, or I engage with them in some way. And sometimes this helps boost videos. But I think I'm like at the point now where I no longer feel the need, like I want to do this. and I don't think it's helping, and I kind of want my space on the internet to be a safe place for those who need it. And I'll just start using the block button or the delete button with a little bit more force. Because I think for a long time I've been like, no, I don't need to use those because I can take the criticism. It doesn't bother me. And it doesn't bother me, but I think that responding to it in certain ways also is detracting from what I'm trying to say. And so that's one way I'm trying to learn and grow as a creator. And like I said, we're back on YouTube. I haven't mentioned this on my podcast, but we're going to have 2 videos a week, not including the podcast, 2 to 3 videos on YouTube. I'm going to continue to post to places like TikTok. I'm going to post to Instagram. I'm trying to post to my Facebook, guys. I don't know what it is about that platform. They will show my content to no one. And while I can grow to almost 5,000 on TikTok, I cannot get it but 5 people to see my posts on Facebook. And when they have gotten out of like that 5 view range, it's filled with like the most vile comments and hates. Um, yeah, and I mean, when you have a service dog online or a more visible display of your disabilities or even talk about it, there's just going to be people that show up and aren't the best people. And you have to decide where you want to protect your peace. And I'm kind of learning that going into my 3rd year of content creation as It's Barbie Paris. I really appreciate everybody for following, watching, listening, um, everything. I appreciate it so, so much. And I have a lot of goals and a lot of hopes for this page this year. I'm really excited to continue to content create. Like, I know some people are so burnt out and they hate it, and they talk, like bigger creators talk about how they're burnt out with content creation. I have to like actively avoid it because I enjoy it so much. I'll gab all day. There's things I want to say. I feel like there's important things I want to say. And there's ideas that I have that are as tall as the moon, and I'm excited to share them and experience them with you guys. And I'm manifesting big things for It's Barbie Paris in the new year, and I'm manifesting big things for you, and I'm manifesting that you and your service dog have a wonderful year. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys can find me on a variety of different outlets, and I will talk to you soon.